Hey y'all, and welcome back to Sweet Pea and Peonies Designs. I'm Jennifer, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to sand the top and bottom rim so we can create a seal with our epoxy and also get a nice smooth bottom rim. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm starting out with a 60 grit sanding block. This is in real time right here. I'm just going to feel around the surface of my tumbler, see if I feel any bumps. This could be maybe glitter that is not completely covered with epoxy, or it could be maybe some bubbles that was in our epoxy that did not get torched or rose to the surface after I torched my cup. And so now we have a little bit of a bubble on the surface of our tumbler. This is obviously sped up. I didn't think that y'all wanted to watch me sand this tumbler in real time for like 8 minutes. So this part is sped up. As you can see, I am holding the turner arm with my left hand. The cup is resting on my countertop and I am turning the tumbler with my left hand. I'm using my right hand to sand. I'm also feeling the cup to see if I can feel any of those bumps, whether it be the glitter or the micro bubbles that rose to the surface. If I feel something, I'm going to go ahead and sand that spot. I am being careful because I only have 2 layers of epoxy on this tumbler. If you don't want to do a lot of sanding work, but you feel bumps on your tumbler, just add another layer of epoxy. You will not have to sand this much. I just am stubborn and didn't want to add another layer. But you do want a nice smooth surface because whatever decals you're going to put on top of your tumbler, if you have a lot of pokey bumps or lumps or whatever, you will see it through your vinyl. So just keep that in mind. So again, just turning the cup, feeling and making sure that I can get it as smooth as possible. Next, we will move on to our bottom rim, and you'll see that in a second. I need to be careful with this bottom rim. It is bumpy, you can see that, but again, we only have those 2 layers of epoxy, so if we sand down too much, we will sand the blue color off of this glitter, and it will be silver, and you will be able to tell that you sanded down to the glitter. So I am starting out with a 120 grit because I just want to be extra careful that I'm not sanding too much with too high of a grit sanding block. So you can see I'm kind of sanding a little bit and then stopping, looking at the tumbler, making sure that I am not sanding all of that epoxy down, because that is possible to sand down these 2 layers of epoxy on the bottom rim. So then once I felt like the 120 grit just wasn't working for me, I moved into my 60 grit. Again, being very careful. I am pretty much gliding the sanding block around the bottom rim. I'm not adding a lot of pressure, so I do not sand down the epoxy right here. So I'm just going to keep going around, scuffing it up just a little bit and moving around the tumbler. I did have, I like to call it, a booty bump. So a little bit of my epoxy pooled around the bottom rim, so it was not nice and smooth. So as you can see, I'm kind of going in a circular motion around the very bottom of the tumbler just to kind of get that a little bit smoother and make sure that the layers that go on top of this are going to be nice and flat. I'm going to sand the bottom part just a little bit to make sure that when I put the tumbler down on a countertop, it's not wobbly. So now I'm going to focus on the top of the tumbler. Again, I'm using my 60 grit sanding block. You can see that the white glitter goes all the way to the edge of the tumbler at the top. So again, doing that circular motion because I had a muffin top at the top. So I had a little bit of epoxy pool at the top. So again, I'm trying to knock that down. So when we go to add our last layers of epoxy, it is a nice, smooth, even finish throughout the entire tumbler. Now I'm trying to clean up the top rim because we do have epoxy at the top and even a little bit inside of the tumbler. I'm using my craft knife. I'm going to run it around that top rim just to clean up that epoxy, but you can tell that I am struggling. Like, this epoxy is not wanting to come off, and I'm actually a little worried that I'm going to gouge my stainless steel. So I'm going to take my heat gun and have it pointed towards that top rim for about 30 seconds to a minute. That's what I was just doing, heating up that epoxy. And as you can see, it is literally just gliding off of the top of this rim. So I definitely recommend doing that just for a short amount of time. It's going to loosen up that epoxy and make it a lot easier for you to clean up that top rim. Then I am also going to clean up the inside a little bit just to kind of help with cleanup with that. Then I'm going to use my 60 grit sanding block and sand the top of the tumbler a little bit. But really what we want to focus on is sanding the side of the tumbler where it meets that top rim. As you can see, my sanding block is at an angle. So this is going to sand the epoxy, glitter, and spray paint off of the side of that tumbler right where it meets the top rim. This is where we want our seal to be created for our tumbler. We do not want it created at the top rim where we cleaned up all that extra epoxy, because what happens is our lid sits on top of that top rim. So if we create our seal at the very top rim of our tumbler, that is going to get a lot of wear and tear from people, you know, applying and taking off their lids. And it's just a very vulnerable spot that will get a lot of wear and tear, and you could potentially end up compromising the seal. And if water gets inside of your layers of epoxy, the entire tumbler is ruined. So we are creating that seal on the side. I'm going to keep sanding this until, one, I get a thick enough line of stainless steel being exposed, and also once my line of stainless steel that is exposed is even all the way around the side of our tumbler. If I sand more in one spot than another, you will be able to tell, because more of that stainless steel will be exposed and it will be uneven. You will be able to tell. So once all of that is done, I'm going to go ahead and take this to the sink, wash it with some Dawn dish soap and water, dry it off, apply my decal and all of my layers of epoxy that I need to apply to make sure that this tumbler is done. I will show you all a close-up of the seal that we created at the end of this video, so stick around for that. But that's pretty much how we create a seal at the top of our tumbler and how we sand the bottom rim of our tumbler to get a nice smooth surface, because sometimes it's a little tricky. It can be hard to get it nice and cleaned up and smooth around that bottom rim. Here's our tumbler all done. I've added a decal and 2 layers of epoxy on top. I will link in the description box how I made this tumbler from start to finish, and I'll also put it in the top right-hand corner. So in this video, we learned how to create a seal for our epoxy to adhere to at the top of our tumbler, and also how to sand the bottom rim to get a nice, smooth, even finish of our epoxy. If you learned something new in this video, or if you're liking these informational style videos that I've been putting out on Wednesdays, please let me know by liking, commenting, and subscribing. It lets me know that you're getting value out of the videos that I'm doing for you guys. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another video from me. I will have my Facebook group linked in the description box as well, so check that out. I hope y'all loved this video and have a great day.